Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I'll be going over 3 rookies that have impressed so far during the Washington Commanders OTAs. We'll talk about them and what we need to see from some of the other guys. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button and that notification bell as well so you never miss a video. So still on vacation, recording in a little bit different setting with my computer but no mic, so hopefully the audio isn't a huge issue. But we're going to talk about OTAs, some guys that have dominated, at least one guy. So, I think the title is, 3 guys that dominated, but maybe one guy that dominated and some other guys that did a really good job as well. So let's talk about some of these guys. We'll start off with the, big name everyone's talking about. Maybe we'll make a separate video about him, but that is Trey Amos, the, second round pick from the Washington Commanders. Who was projected to go late first, early second, and slid all the way to the end of the second round. And the Commanders were able to, pick him up, and that was a great pick in my opinion, and everyone was happy about it at the time. And he's been an OTA standout. And here's the thing, also you got to keep in mind, they've had other OTA sessions. This is just the first one with the media there, at least for phase two. He had a interception on a pass intended from Michael Gallup, and then also almost had another one, and I believe that same pass was intended for Michael Gallup. So Trey Amos is doing well so far. It doesn't seem like that injury, which is the main reason for his slide, allegedly, it doesn't seem like it's slowing him down a lot. So Trey Amos is the guy that's been, playing the best during Washington Commanders OTA so far. So huge ups to him, and hopefully he can, continue it for the Washington Commanders. I'm trying to see if there's any other stuff here. No, but I just, wanted to talk about Trey Amos, and I think, if everything goes well, he'll be your starting outside corner. You got Lattimore on the other side, and then you got Mikey Sainer still in the slot, who also, according to Zach Selby, who does a lot of good reporting for the Commanders, said that he has been one of the top standouts for the Commanders, is Mike Sainer still, along with Jaden Daniels and Trey Amos. Those are the 3 standouts that he highlighted. And I think the secondary has a chance to be much improved. I mean, your depth is a lot better too. I mean, you have those 3 guys that I just mentioned, and then you got Jonathan Jones, who's a really good veteran to have, and on most teams would start. He's going to be your next man up, who can play in the slot and the outside. And then also you have Noah Igbenogany, who I thought had a good year last year. You bring him in, and he's your 5th corner. Compared to last year, he was your 3rd. And the secondary, was an issue last year, but he was your 3rd, and he goes to your 5th, and you improved the guys ahead of him, as well. 3 guys ahead of him. I mean, you added Lattimore, who I don't even really count as playing last year because he was playing hurt. And then you add Trey Amos, you add Jonathan Jones. I mean, all 3 of those guys are better than what we had last year, in my opinion. So the secondary is much improved, and Trey Amos has a chance to be a really good player for the Washington Commanders. So that's one guy. Jaylen Lane has been, playing pretty well, and then also just had a touchdown, or at least the team posted it. I don't know when this happened. They posted it today, so I'm assuming that it was today or yesterday. But he's been working with the punt returners. He's probably going to be their punt returner this year. Could be the kick returner. With the new rules, the Commanders like to have the 2 guys in the back. So I would say, or in the end zone, they'd like to have those 2. Like, a lot of times they would have like Eckler and McCaffrey, or maybe McCaffrey and Crowder. I don't know if Crowder was back there, but I know they had Eckler and McCaffrey out, back there when they were healthy. McNichols too. So they could have a combination of like Lane and another guy, maybe Lane and McCaffrey. I could see that for sure. Because, Lane didn't return a lot of kicks at Tech, but he did return a few, I believe, but mostly was a punt returner. So he's going to be their punt returner. And, he was, working with the punt returners, and then Brian Mitchell was there. Talked about it in my video the other day, but he was there working with the returners, giving them advice, so that was cool. Let me show the Jaylen Lane clip. So pass thrown there, and Jaylen Lane scores a touchdown. So I couldn't see a defender there, but I'm assuming there's a defender there. I mean, the Commanders posted it saying touchdown, and then also like they're celebrating. They wouldn't be celebrating on a normal, pass. So, seems like Jaylen Lane, whoever was guarding him, he dusted him because he wasn't even in the picture. So shout out Jaylen Lane there, dominating at least on that route. And I'm excited to see what he can do this year. Again, at the minimum, you're trying to get good punt returning play from him, and then after that, maybe add some other stuff in terms of kick returner, but also on offense. He's a fourth round pick, or you want to see him, get some, have some production as a, receiver and as a running gadget. You want to see him get some production there. So, be that maybe fourth option in the offense. You want to see him produce more than Luke McCaffrey did last year as a third round pick. So, and that's not saying much because Luke McCaffrey didn't have a great, year. But I do like that the Commanders have two younger receivers now, and you're putting more, lottery tickets in there. You know what I'm saying, or maybe even more than lottery tickets. But these other guys, Terry, Noah Brown, Debo Samuel, you kind of know what they are. And the other, they're a little bit older. They're getting up there. They're getting to the age of 30 plus soon in the next year or two. And so you want to have some guys, younger guys, that are going to develop that are on rookie contracts. So not all of them are going to hit, especially when you're just getting a bunch of guys on day 2, day 3. But if you get enough of these guys in and you trust your receiver coach and the receivers around them, then one or two of them are gonna end up hitting. So you got two in the building right now. You're not expecting for both of them to hit, but if one of them hits as a pretty good, like a number 2, that would be great. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but if they can somehow get that, maybe the other guy's just a starter or a gadget guy. But I think both of them are NFL players for sure. But Jaylen Lane having a solid OTAs and just had a touchdown, so just want to throw him in there as a rookie. And I just want to talk about the rookies is really why I made this video. And then Josh Conerly, is doing apparent according to the reporters and stuff like that, was looking good in OTAs early on, or rookie mini camp, and his technique was good. His footwork looked really good. He looked quick. And from all accounts, the same, it seems like it's, the same's going on recently as well. So, he's been getting coached up by a lot of the guys. I saw a clip of Wiley helping him out, so that's always good. Getting, these tips from some of the older guys is always great. So, Josh Conerly, a guy that definitely, you can't really tell. He's, again, like I said, the title is probably dominated, but, so for him, not necessarily, because they don't have pads on, so you can't really tell. But he's a guy that the Commanders at least have been impressed with for sure, and we'll really get to see once the pads come on and once the season starts how he really is. But I'm excited about Josh Conerly and getting another guy to protect the franchise quarterback in Jaden Daniels is always great. And this draft class is a chance to be really good. I really like the players and the people that they drafted. Josh Conerly. I mean, I don't know if you guys watched the Commanders log. I thought it was really cool. And Conerly seems like he's locked in. He's a kid. I mean, I know I'm a kid, but he's younger than me, which is crazy. And so it was cool to see that. And then Jaylen Lane's a great guy. Trey Amos seems cool. And then Madrano and Ja'Cory Krosky-Mayer as well, which I've heard some good things about him so far as well. So that is it for today's video. Just want to talk about some of the rookies, especially Trey Amos, who's really impressed. Jaylen Lane just had a touchdown. And then just want to talk about Conerly a little bit and, what to watch out for just in terms of, all right, let's see what happens when the pads go on. And maybe temper expectations early on in terms of, all right, first couple of days. Usually takes a little bit of time for these rookies, younger guys, to settle in terms of how they look in practice once the pads come on. But, like I remember Sam Cosmi the first couple of days was getting dominated by Chase Young and Montez Sweat, but that's expected when you're going up against those guys, especially at the time when, we thought they were good. And Montez Sweat's good. And but over time he started to do really well and actually was locking them up. So we'll see with Conerly, but I'm excited. And yeah, that's it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe, guys. New, and peace.